All right, mathletes. So welcome back to class. I made a video for you. Unfortunately, it cut off my head, so I'm just going to use the whiteboard here, and I'm going to talk to an empty classroom so I could teach you. All right. What we're going to do here is we're going to find the inverse. So I'm not mic'd up, so I apologize if the sound quality sucks. All right, so we have some steps to go through. Make sure you write down these steps separately in addition to these notes, okay? So the first thing we want to do, step one, is you want to write f of x. You're going to change it to y. So step one, wherever you see your function, whether it's f of x, g of x, fu, whatever it is, change it to y. So f of x, we're changing that to y. Everything else remains the same, x plus 5. All right, so that's step one. Get it in your notes. All right, step two. All right, step two, what we're gonna do now is, if you watched the other video, which you should have, all right, you saw that we're gonna, when we're finding the inverse function, the x and y values, right, those coordinates, they change places. So step two, we interchange x and y. So x and y change places. So make sure you write that down. Let me just make sure everything I'm writing down is still in the video on the screen. So you interchange x and y. So wherever I see a y, I put an x, and wherever I have an x, I put y, right? And that's what usually happens when you think about your x. You're like, why? Right, so all this makes sense. Little joke. All right. So that's step two. All right. Step three. All right. Again, nothing's changing. The format's always we're gonna stick to this game plan. So step three. This is about the time where we just say, you know what, this is too hard, I quit. No. So step three is easy. All we do is we solve for y. So we solve for y, all right? Again, if you're not in this class, usually people would be dying laughing, all right? The people that don't get these jokes, later on, it hits them about 30 minutes later, crashes all over Watsonville, right? So I apologize for those. So we're gonna solve for y here. So we subtract 5 from both sides, and now you're left with y equals x minus 5. So what we have found here is, now y is isolated, we have found our inverse function. So now I have to specify. So step 4, I have to write this function as an inverse function. Step 4, I want to write as an inverse function. I need to use my proper notation. So wherever I see y, I'm writing f inverse of x, right? I'm using that notation, x minus 5, all right? So this just says, hey, I found my inverse. So that's the process you're gonna walk through as you're going through these homework problems, all right? So that's what we're doing here. And part two, what it's gonna want from you, let me go ahead and erase this. So you have your function, and this is our inverse function. This is the function that undoes everything that this originally function does to our variables and to our inputs, excuse me. So we have two functions now. I have my original function, and I have my inverse function. So how do I know that I did a good job? How do I know that it is the inverse function? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna verify this. We're gonna make sure that we did everything correctly. So what we do is we're gonna compose the two. We're gonna plug that inverse function inside of our original function, all right? Or vice versa, all right? So I'm gonna use that function f, which is x plus 5. So I'm gonna put parentheses plus 5 because I know something's going inside of there. Well, what is going inside of my function f? According to this, we're sticking the inverse function inside of there. So we're plugging all this in, right? our inverse function, x minus 5. Well, what do you know? The 5's cancel out, so we're left with x. So we have verified that these two functions are inverses of each other. All right, so that's gonna be the process that you're gonna walk through when you're doing this Thanksgiving homework. All right, so again, hopefully you're enjoying your families. I wish you guys a happy Thanksgiving. I'll talk to you soon, but not too soon.